Man, how can you not love college football? I mean, week 3 was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely insane. We were lucky enough to see two of the best games of the entire season happen on the same day. And I'm not saying two of the best games of the week. I'm not saying two of the best games up until this point, two of the best games of the season so far. No, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas A&M Notre Dame will go down as two of the best games of the entire season by the time the season is over in November, before the bowl season starts. Absolutely unreal. We saw 4 top 25 teams go down, obviously 2 happening in those games, and then 2 more happening to unranked opponents. It was a fantastic weekend, full of twists and turns, full of classic games, and we're here to break it down for you right here on the Gridiron Expert. So let's go ahead and get into it. I mean, pick your poison. For me, I felt that the best game of the day was in Knoxville, where College Game Day was, and it lived up to the hype as number 6 Georgia won their 9th straight game over number 15 Tennessee, 44-41 in overtime. That, to me, was my number 1 game of the entire day. And look, you know it's good, right? I mean, you know it's kind of wild when Kirby Smart, after the game comes over and goes, look, we shouldn't have won. Like, happy we won, yeah, but like, we probably did not deserve to win that game. And maybe not. You know, Tennessee led that game 21-7. 21-7 through the first quarter. They scored on all 3 of their possessions in the first quarter, torching that Georgia defense for 233 yards of offense. Sometimes that's as many yards as a team puts up on the entire game against Georgia. No, Tennessee put 21 points and 233 yards of offense on that Bulldogs defense in the first quarter. So I want to say this right now. Even though Tennessee lost the game to the Bulldogs, they're going to be just fine. I looked at Tennessee's schedule the rest of the way, as I'm sure many of you have as well. The only game that might be a concern for Tennessee down the stretch is that road game against Alabama. I feel very comfortable. I think they're going to be favored in the majority of their games down the stretch. Clearly got a massive quarterback upgrade in Joey Aguilar over Nico Iamaleava, who, as we know, is absolute garbage and is now leading an 0-3 UCLA team who just lost to New Mexico by double digits. But besides the point, Tennessee's going to be just fine. But they were up 21-7. Then Georgia rattled off 20 unanswered points to claim a 27-21 lead late in the third quarter. So Georgia settled down. Their defense wasn't doing their job. The offense got off to a slow start. Everybody was concerned about Gunnar Stockton. How was he going to fare in his first true road game of his career as a starter? And going into a sold-out Knoxville, sold-out Neyland Stadium, you know, what was that going to look like? Looked pretty good. 304 yards and 2 touchdowns for Stockton. Also added a rushing touchdown as well. Tennessee responds. 56-yard touchdown pass. Reclaims a 28-27 lead. The final 18 minutes and 41 seconds of regulation it was on crack. I mean, if we're being honest with you. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. The final 18:41 of that game between Georgia and Tennessee featured 3 lead changes and 31 combined points. I mean, blow for blow. This was a true heavyweight fight. Felt like a college football playoff type game. And it felt like Tennessee had it in the bag, right? They were up by 8 points late in the fourth quarter. Had Georgia backed up. 4th and 6. 4th and 6 on the Tennessee 28. If the Volunteers get a stop, they win. Instead, Gunnar Stockton, a beautiful pass into the end zone, connects with London Humphreys for that 28-yard touchdown. Later connects to the 2-point conversion, ties the game up. Tennessee still marches all the way down the field. All the way down the field, lines up for a 43-yard field goal. It's over. I mean, shades of that matchup against Alabama. What was that, back in 2022? That was the shades we were getting, right? They finally end that streak to the Crimson Tide then on a game-winning field goal as time expired. It felt like they were about to do the same thing with Georgia, and they missed it. Horribly. Game goes to overtime. Tennessee settles for a field goal in overtime. Georgia scores a touchdown 3 plays later. Walks away with a 44-41 win. I mean, you could not have written a better game, right? I mean, it had everything except for defense, right? And I think that was the crazy part, right? This Georgia defense that's typically so good under Kirby Smart gave up 41 points. That's very, very rare. And I don't think that's necessarily showing that Georgia has a bad defense. I think they definitely have some concerns and things they've got to address. I think it shows how good the Tennessee offense is. The Tennessee offense is going to be just fine. I think, again, we just mentioned it. Aguilar is a huge step up. They've got some great running backs. They clearly got some great wide receivers, including Brazel as well. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal. So this Tennessee team is going to be just fine, but Georgia's the one that walks away, remains undefeated, remains the top dog in the SEC, certainly that above Texas, I would say. I look at these two teams. These are 2 playoff caliber teams. Tennessee should not fall very far in the rankings. They will not fall far in our rankings, the GE Top 25 that will come out on Monday afternoon. this could be maybe the first of two meetings between these squads. If both these teams continue to go on a tear, they could meet each other again in the SEC Championship. That's how good I believe the Tennessee team is. That's clearly how good I believe this Georgia team is. But an absolute classic between the Bulldogs and the Volunteers. It felt like this was Tennessee's best chance in a while to finally get over the hump and end their streak to the Bulldogs, and they came so close. But Georgia extends their streak to 9 straight over the Vols. The other big game of the day, the second best game. Honestly, you could rank them 1A and 1B if you wanted to. Number 16, Texas A&M. They are making a statement. Going into South Bend and ending Notre Dame's college football playoff hopes in Week 3. The Fighting Irish are done. Take down the number 8 Fighting Irish 41-40. So Notre Dame is done, guys. They blew it. And look, neither of their losses are bad, right? They have 2 losses by a combined 4 points to Miami and Texas A&M. Both teams were ranked in the top 25. Both very good teams. But the Fighting Irish have now dropped to 0-2 for the second time in the last 4 years under Marcus Freeman. And they really don't have a great strength of schedule the rest of the way that I think is going to help propel them into a 12-team playoff. They do not have a conference championship, so they have no chance to get an automatic bid. I'm not sure. Obviously, that would require Notre Dame to win out. It would require them to win 10 straight games down the stretch to even have a shot at the 12-team playoff. And even then, are they going to get in over another 2-loss SEC team? Or maybe even a 3-loss SEC or Big Ten team that maybe has a better strength of schedule or better quality wins than what Notre Dame's going to have in their final 10 games. So A&M getting a statement win for themselves and in the process maybe eliminating a college football playoff contender 3 weeks into the year. This was a really crazy game for me too. It was one that I actually felt confident that Notre Dame was going to win. Off a bye week, CJ Carr getting a little bit more confidence, going to incorporate Jeremiah Love into the game plan a little bit more at home, the home opener for Notre Dame. It felt like a game that was going to be close, but that they were going to end up winning. And when Notre Dame got up 10 points, I felt, not that the game was over by any means, but I was like, okay, they got some breathing room. One more defensive stop, one more score, get up by 3 possessions, this game's in the bag, right? And they just couldn't do it. Every time Notre Dame felt like they were doing something good, A&M had a great response. Notre Dame found themselves up 10 twice in the second quarter, 2 times. But yet A&M still led 28-24 at halftime. So the Aggies not only were exploiting this Notre Dame defense, but their defense doing a good job of keeping the Fighting Irish in check. And their mental toughness to come on the road at night into South Bend, which is not an easy place to play, and to just take every punch that Notre Dame was giving them and kind of just shrugging it off and then responding with their own punch. It was really impressive to see from the Aggies. And obviously this game got really wild at the end, right? It was kind of back and forth in the second half. Saw these two teams knotted up at 34 apiece with 2:53 left. With 2:53 left is when Notre Dame broke that tie, right? Looked like they were going to go 41-34 and maybe end up winning the game. And they botched the extra point. Shades of Tony Romo from 2006? That playoff game against the Seahawks? Buckner botches the snap, rolls out to his left for the 2-point conversion. Obviously, no one was intending for that to happen. They don't convert. So Notre Dame up 40-34. All they got to do is keep Texas A&M out of the end zone, which obviously was easier said than done. They couldn't do it. And then what was crazy about those final 3-ish minutes were the amount of mistakes that Notre Dame had down the stretch, right? Their defense was doing everything they could. The Aggies marching down the field, looking good. They find themselves with a 3rd and 16. A&M had a 3rd and 16 in Notre Dame territory. They got the stop, but defensive holding. Automatic first down. New opportunity for Texas A&M, deep in Notre Dame territory. Then, Marcel Reed launched a pass into the corner of the end zone. Wide open interception for Notre Dame. They don't catch it. Right through the arms. Right through the arms. You pick it off, it's over. It's over. There was no one around him. It was over. Couldn't get it. And it was one of those things where, in football, really in any sport, there are those moments where, like, when something doesn't go your way, when the ball bounced the wrong way, it's like, oh, you still have a chance, you're still alive, and deep down you go, no, it's over, right? You know it's done. And when Notre Dame didn't pick that ball off, I think we all knew it was over. 4th and 11, 4th and goal from the 11. Texas A&M converts. Beautiful pass in the corner of the end zone. The Aggies walk away with a 41-40 win. They don't botch the extra point. This Notre Dame defense, guys, that typically is so strong under Marcus Freeman, gave up 488 yards to Texas A&M, 360 of those coming through the air. The Fighting Irish only mustered 136 rushing yards, so a team that was supposed to have a strong offensive line, had a Heisman Trophy candidate in Jeremiah Love at running back, was not good in week 1 against Miami, was not that great now against Texas A&M, only averaged 3.5 yards per carry, as we mentioned, and they walk away 0-2. A&M remains undefeated, will skyrocket in the rankings, will be a top 10 team for us, and probably the AP as well. And the Aggies are a team that is a force to be reckoned with in the SEC. Their schedule, not horrible down the stretch. They clearly have a huge resume-boosting victory on their resume to win over a top 10 team on the road. That's no easy feat. The SEC is certainly going to be tough, and I don't expect the Aggies to run the table, but this is the team that now is a legitimate college football playoff contender. For years and years and years, A&M really has struggled to win those big games. And again, there's a lot of football left to be played. They could still choke and still be Texas 8-4, as we've seen time and time again. But this year certainly does feel a little bit different, especially after this win in South Bend. The other game that was a classic, but maybe got overshadowed a little bit by the two big games in Knoxville and South Bend, was Georgia Tech. And look, we've got some winners back here on our wall here, right? Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, LSU, which we'll touch on in a second. All teams getting some massive wins in week 3. And all those helmets sent in by our great fans and great members of the GE Nation as well. So I'm sure my man Bill is super pumped about Georgia Tech's win over number 12 Clemson. The longest game-winning field goal in Georgia Tech football history, 55 yards. That's what the Yellow Jackets hit as time expired. And again, what a wild game here, too. I picked Clemson. I'll own up to it. I picked Clemson. And I picked Clemson because I thought their defense, as bad as their offense has struggled, I thought their defensive front that was so strong and so loaded and so talented, one of the best defensive lines in the nation, was going to be able to do their job and keep this Georgia Tech offense in check. And they couldn't do it. Haynes King is a dog. He is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. 211 passing yards for Haynes King, 103 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. I mean, this Georgia Tech team, guys, that has now won their 12th game under Brent Key as an underdog, so never underestimate Brent Key, and I made that mistake this last weekend. But I did mention back in the preseason that I felt that Georgia Tech was a dark horse to the playoff, that proving to be true. This team was up 13-0 over Clemson, was dominating them in all aspects of the game, but the Tigers ultimately settled down, as good teams do, retook the lead 14-13 in the fourth quarter. Georgia Tech bounced back. Clemson bounced back. The game's tied at 21 with 3:26 left, and the Yellow Jackets promptly milked the rest of the clock away. They converted 2 third downs, both on runs by Haynes King, got themselves in a long field goal range, and delivered chaos in Atlanta. Rushed the field in Atlanta. The Yellow Jackets are undefeated. The AP wrongly did not have them ranked. Look, I had Georgia Tech ranked 18th in the nation in our last GE Top 25, right? I've been high on the Yellow Jackets. Now, again, I missed the mark on picking them in this game, but I've been high on them. They're going to skyrocket in our rankings. We were on the Georgia Tech bandwagon before other people were, all right? They are going to skyrocket in our rankings. We're going to have them much higher than the AP has them. They're going to hover around our top 10 heading into week 4. Do not sleep on Georgia Tech. The ACC appears to be wide open, and Clemson, like Notre Dame, may have just seen their college football playoff hopes vanish in week 3. The Tigers now 1-2, and are going to need a really big run, very similar to they had last year. The only way Clemson gets in now is by getting to the ACC championship and winning it. They were fortunate, lucky to do it last year. Thanks, Fran Brown, again for that. They might not get as lucky this year. So there's a chance you may have seen Notre Dame and Clemson both see their playoff hopes end just a quarter of the way into the season. The other top 25 matchup that we had this weekend was Miami and USF. The Hurricanes promptly won that game 49-12. Long rain delay didn't matter. The Hurricanes outgained the Bulls 576-332, including 371 passing yards. The game was over at halftime, right? All the credit in the world to Alex Galesh and USF, though. I mean, to beat Boise State, who was ranked, is huge. To go into Gainesville, as bad as Florida is, we'll touch on that in 1 second, as bad as they are, that's not an easy feat. The Cinderella start is over, but I had USF at 0-3 to start the season. I didn't think they'd win any of those tough non-conference games. They're 2-1. So they are still very much alive for a college football playoff berth. This blowout loss to Miami does not ruin any hopes of that. They're just going to have to do a really good job of competing and winning in the American Conference, and that can absolutely be done because the American not that deep and not that strong this year. So watch out for the Bulls. People are going to write them off. They're going to write them off. Oh, they got killed by Miami. They're done for. I would not say that at all. Do not sleep on USF, but Miami taking care of business in what many viewed as a trap game. Still 17-point favorites, covered big time in that one. We mentioned Florida. The last two teams I want to touch on really quickly. We mentioned Florida. They're bad. They are bad. And I need people to understand that. I got criticized heavily when I picked the Gators to go 7-5 in the preseason. Said I didn't know what I was talking about. I beg to differ. Maybe I didn't know what I was talking about. Maybe I should have had Florida being worse. DJ Lagway, a guy that many consider to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, as maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country, is the furthest thing from that. Lagway, 5 interceptions last week, or this last Saturday, against LSU. 20-10 loss for Florida. That's honestly a testament to Florida's defense, because 5 interceptions, you would have thought LSU would have converted more on that. The LSU offense was not that great, so credit the Florida defense for keeping them in check. But 5 interceptions from DJ Lagway, who has been mediocre at best up until this point, definitely below average now. Florida is now 1-2. More than likely has seen the end of the Billy Napier era. It's just really a matter of when that happens. Are they going to fire him now? Are they going to fire him at the end of the season? Florida, guys, there's a very good chance they start 1-5. Their next 3 games are at Miami, against Texas and Gainesville in a battle of 2 of the most overrated quarterbacks in the country, in Arch Manning and DJ Lagway, and then on the road at Texas A&M, who, as we just saw, beat Notre Dame and South Bend. Those are the next 3 games for Florida. All 3 of those teams more than likely going to be ranked in the top 10. 2 of those 3 games on the road. It's not looking good. And it's going to be really hard to win any of those games when your quarterback isn't competent. So Florida in big time trouble. LSU going to remain in our top 5, of course, but the offense certainly going to need some work there. How about Vanderbilt? Last thing here, sticking in the SEC. Major props to Clark Lee and the Commodores. They will be ranked in our new GE Top 25 come Monday. They end their 16-game losing streak to South Carolina. Number 11 South Carolina, beating them 31-7. And yes, I know Lenore Sellers got hurt. I get it. I'm not sure South Carolina would have won had he played anyways, because Lenore Sellers didn't play defense. Hate to break it to you. Yes, Lenore Sellers might not have helped to commit 4 turnovers for South Carolina. Gamecocks could not hold on to the ball to save their life, but Lenore Sellers was not their running back. A South Carolina team that only ran for 86 yards on Saturday. Again, Lenore Sellers did not play defense. They had no answer for Diego Pavia, who was 18 for 25 for 177 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. I mean, he is like America's player, man. And Vanderbilt might be America's team. How about those Commodores? 31-7, wasn't even close, doing it on the road. And don't look too far ahead now. You got to play the games. But Vandy's 3-0. They're legit, okay? And they should beat Georgia State, and they should beat Utah State. That's who they have in their next 2 games, which means there is a real possibility you could see a 5-0, undefeated, maybe even top 20 Vanderbilt team traveling to take on Alabama on October 4th. An Alabama team that could be coming off a bad road loss, not bad as in the team they played, but bad as in blowout maybe, road loss to Georgia in Athens. Watch out. Watch out. We saw Vanderbilt stun Alabama last year. They're going to look to see if lightning can strike twice and get the win in Tuscaloosa. They just won in Columbia. They're scared of nobody. Clark Lee's got this team playing phenomenal football. Vandy, do not sleep on them. Do not sleep on the Commodores, who are playing fantastic football and very well. Again, could be 5-0 entering October, and that means the sky is the limit for this team. Guys, we are officially a quarter of the way through the college football season. That's hard to believe, right? We've completed 3 full weeks of the season, and it's really been hectic. It's really been chaotic. And I feel like we say that every year, but I really believe this year there's not one team that truly stands out to me more than another as like that heavy favorite, right? I mean, you've got teams that we expected to be playoff caliber teams that have looked absolutely horrible and have seen their hopes come to a close, right? Kansas State, I thought was a legitimate Big 12 title contender. They're 1-3 now. Their season is over. Clemson, 1-2. Notre Dame, 0-2. Alabama already has a loss. They could have 2 losses. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but they could have 2 losses entering the month of October. This Georgia defense, this is a good Georgia team, but they just gave up 41 points to Tennessee. Tennessee, brand new quarterback in Joey Aguilar, looking just fine on that side of the ball. Arch Manning was supposed to be an elite quarterback for Texas. He was getting booed in a game against UTEP this last Saturday because of how poorly he played. He was horrendous against Ohio State. Okay, we get that. UTEP, unacceptable. Maybe not as good as people made him out to be. DJ Lagway is absolute garbage. So, this is a wide open season, guys. The expectations that have been set before some of these teams, they have not lived up to them. We've seen some surprise teams that have exceeded expectations. Teams that we just mentioned that clearly have not met their expectations. It's a wide open season in the world of college football. Again, we're only a quarter of the way through this season. We've got a long, long ways to go. But if the first quarter is any indication, it's going to be one wild rest of the year. And of course, we'll be here every step of the way with you right here on the Gridiron Expert. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed your college football Saturday. Let's gear up for another big weekend. Week 4 on deck. We kick things off with our GE Top 25 coming your way on Monday. Week 4 predictions on Tuesday. And tons more analysis the rest of the week as well. Make sure to check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com. Those are home to our expert picks. Just had a fantastic week of expert picks here at the channel in week 3, hitting over 58% of our bets on the year as of right now. And we are putting out our week 4 picks on Wednesday. So hurry up, sign up for those today. Start winning big with us today. Again, over on thegridironexpert.com. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.